Hi, everyone. Welcome to Navigating the Modern World with Coach Eli. And today I'm going to be sharing part 2 regarding the actual reasons why the divorce rate is so high in the modern world. Now, if you are coming across this video first before part 1, please go back and check out part 1 before you view this one. Leave this video right now. Go on my channel. You'll easily find part 1 there. Check it out and then come back and view this one. I'm not going to be doing any recap here because I want to just continue and get you guys and gals the information as quickly and simply as possible so you can all learn from this and make better decisions in the future. So this doesn't happen to you again, or you prevent this from happening to you in the first place. Let's continue here. Let's go back to the browser screen. And just to quickly remind you, I was inspired to do this topic based on this Reddit posting in one of my favorite subreddits, the Purple Pill Debate subreddit. And the original poster posted a topic titled, "Most marriages ending in divorce are happy until a sudden, abrupt event triggers the breakdown of the marriage." One more time, most marriages ending in divorce are happy until a sudden, abrupt event triggers the breakdown of the marriage. So in part 1, I shared my thoughts about that, and it has nothing to do with what was stated here in the original poster's title. So go back and check out part 1, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But let's leave off where I left off. We were going to go over another blog posting that was shared by this original poster. And this is from the website ifstudies.org. It was written on July 9th, 2019, which is fairly recent, couple years old. So it's very, very recent information. And the title is "Cruising at Altitude, Reconciling a High Divorce Rate with High Marital Satisfaction Ratings." Cruising at altitude, reconciling a high divorce rate with high marital satisfaction ratings. See, all these blogs here, in my opinion, are a bunch of fluff and a bunch of hooey, just to get the author's name out there, in my opinion, and sell advertisements and stuff like that, right? Like I mentioned in part 1, it's all about compatibility, chemistry. Do you feel that large rush or spark of sexual attraction when you first meet each other? If that is there, okay, do you have the mental connection? Can you both carry a mentally stimulating conversation? Are your communication skills great? Okay, do you both emotionally bond? Do you feel an emotional bond together, both the man and the woman? And do you feel the spiritual connection? And when you finally when you finally end up having sex, making love, sex, whatever you want to call it, how good is that? Does it feel amazing when you're doing that together? If all that's there, that's all it takes, and nothing else matters. All the rest is just a bunch of fluff. That's the truth. But let's read what Scott Stanley wrote here regarding this blog: "Cruising at Altitude, Reconciling a High Divorce Rate with High Marital Satisfaction Ratings. While many couples divorce, most people report being happily married when surveyed." Well, really? Okay. "Those facts seem at odds." Well, they are. I think you're cherry picking, sir. Maybe you're getting lucky and interviewing the 40% of people that don't get divorced. And out of those 40%, how many of them are truly happy or just staying together because they're codependent on each other financially? They do it for the kids, but are they really happy? There are some simple and complex methodological, God, these words, I can't even pronounce them. Methodological explanations. It's a method, right? For this, but I have long thought about the explanation using the metaphor of an airplane and a flight. This is what I present here. The divorce rate was comparatively low for many years. Before the 1960s. Things have changed since then. Women have been completely liberated. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 allowed no more discrimination based on age, sex, race, national origin, and not even sexual orientation in the modern world. And then, 1972, the Equal Rights Amendment, I believe that's when it came out. Equal rights for everyone, including women. Okay, now women are going to college, they're getting their own degrees, they're getting their own corporate jobs or starting their own businesses, they make their own money, good money, they buy their own homes, their own cars, and they don't need a man for survival like they did back in the days of traditionalism. So nowadays, things are a little different. And it's more important for men to be men and be successful in order to have a true connection happen, because women always want to feel like they have earned a prize, like they've won a prize when they're with a man. And if a woman is more successful than a man, she's going to perceive him to not be a prize. That's just the way women are. They're biologically hardwired that way. And nobody talks about that within these psychological postings here, right? University of Utah sociologist and IFS contributor Nicholas Wolfinger tells me it has been going up for over 500 years. No, it really started going up, in my opinion, in the 60s. It was still decent in the 50s, during the Ward and June Cleaver Leave It to Beaver days. The end of traditionalism was right around the 60s or so it was starting to end. Okay? But I am focusing on a much shorter period of history. The U.S. divorce started to really take off in the 1960s. Right! I'm going to give you a big round of applause for that. That's the first thing I agree on with the psychologists. That is a good point. All right, let's continue. Divorces per 1,000 people in the U.S. His chart here shows, on my left, in the 60s, it was around 2 people per 1,000 people in the U.S. And then, like in the 80s, it went up to over 5 people. And now, according to his chart, in 2016, it's down to around 3 people per 1,000. But there's no data for the last, 4 years or so. We can't count 2021 because it hasn't ended. 2017, 18, 19, and 20. That number has probably skyrocketed, right? And this looks like it includes people that aren't even married. So for every 1,000 people in the U.S., whether you're married or not, this is how many divorces there are per 1,000 people in the U.S., assuming whether you're married or not. It's not that specific. By the 1980s, demographers were arguing that 50% of couples who married would end up divorcing at some point in life. That's true. And now it's around 60% in 2021. There is room for quibbling about this number because it is a projection. And it's not a projection, it's a fact, man. However, the chart above is based on hard numbers, the crude rate per 1,000, and it nicely portrays the change. For more on the complexity of divorce rates, see this article. Okay, we'll check that out another time. This next chart portrays a percent of married people who said that their marriage was happy when asked in data from the U.S. General Social Survey. So, percent of U.S. adults who say they are very happy or pretty happy in their marriage. Okay? So, look at this. Look at this here. It says over 95% or around 95% of U.S. adults say they are very happy or pretty happy in their marriage between 1973 and 2018. I think that number is a bunch of crap. I mean, let's talk about misinformation here. This is not accurate at all. I'm laughing my head off. The actual question was, taking things all together, how would you describe your marriage? Would you say that your marriage is very happy, pretty happy, or not too happy? The chart depicts the percent of people who reported being either very happy or pretty happy. There's a difference between being very happy or pretty happy. Pretty happy means I'm just answering that way to keep peace in my marriage while I figure out what to do or how to divorce my husband or wife. If I presented only the line for the percent saying their marriage was very happy, it would average around 63%. You can check for yourself right here. Okay, well, what if we do that? Okay. All right. Okay, that would make sense. That's closer to the number, but I still think, that number is off. I would probably say it's at about 40%, at least in the modern world. Okay? Maybe during this time it might have been right around, 50% or so. But 63%, that still seems a bit too high. Anyway, the divorce data and happiness data are quite different, and not merely because the data I could most easily retrieve on divorce go back further in time than the happiness data. The divorce data are official statistics for the entire country. They are population-level data of couple outcomes. The marital happiness ratings are individual-level data from cross-sectional surveys that reflect sentiments at the moment surveyed. They are vast methodological, can't pronounce that word, sorry, and conceptual differences in these types of data. My focus here is on the sense of a paradox presented by the two facts. Facts represented by the shape of these lines. To many people, it is not immediately obvious how divorce can be so common while most people report being happily married. Well, they're lying to you. They're flat out lying to you. Come on. This is very inaccurate. Ponder those charts above. Especially from 1985 onward, divorce had really taken off by then. Boomers were at the forefront of this change, and they are still going at it. Sociologist Susan Brown and colleagues have written extensively about the gray divorce revolution, and the boomers are a big part of it. It did start with the boomers, but it really, really took off with my generation, Gen X, and now with the millennials. Oh, man. Let's see what happens with the Gen Zers. Not a lot of them have been married yet. We'll see what happens. Are we going to hit 70 or 80% divorce rate? Or are people just not going to get married? The marriage rate altogether is going to go down. The birth rate's already gone down. Interesting, huh? But even couples marrying now still have a substantial lifetime probability of divorce. That's because of the way the modern world is. And because a lot of guys nowadays, are not being raised to be real men. Okay, they come from broken households, right? Or they had more of a masculine mother as a mother role. Sorry, they had more of a masculine mother and a feminized father, and these guys have not learned how to be men. So when they encounter women that are extremely beautiful, that they're not used to getting to, they're enamored by them, and they really think that this woman wants to be with them. When the truth of the matter is, the reason why she's settling for them is because she couldn't get the guy she really wanted, the Chads and Tyrones. These women are Chad chasers. Lots of them are Chad chasers. They want to marry the Chads, but the Chads don't, so they settle for these guys, right? These guys just don't get it. And that's all you guys need to know, and you gals need to know, right? Okay? That's all you guys and gals need to know. And you beta males out there, you are inflating the value of even women that are not a 9 or a 10. Like the women that are 5s and 6s and 7s, you inflate their value by liking their Instagram postings or, hitting on them in large amounts on online dating sites and apps, right? And it makes them feel like they're worth more than they are. And no disrespect, it makes them feel like they're more attractive than they actually are. So now they feel they deserve the 9s and 10s in guys, right? And that's what happens. All these women that are between a 5 and a 10 on the attraction scale are chasing all the 9s and 10s in men out there, right? So the men out there that are 5s, 6s, 7s, and 8s, you guys are the backup guys that these women go to once they realize the 9s and 10s, the Chads and Tyrones just want to have sex with them and not settle with them. So in essence, you become the beta male provider. That's what's causing these numbers. And to you guys, you don't realize that's happening because you're just enamored that a hot woman's paying attention to you. That's all you need to know. None of this crap here. So I'm gonna move off this screen here because quite frankly, let me go back to full screen for a second. It just really bugs me. I'm not going to read any more of this. You folks I will share the link to this Reddit posting. Let's go back to the browser screen. And for the last 15 minutes of this video, let me read the end of this posting here, and I will share this link to the Reddit posting in the description section below so you guys can see it and also have the links to these blogs in case you want to read any further. I suggest not wasting your time because these blog authors are their information, number one, in my opinion, is not accurate. And number two, they're really not talking about what the real issue is. They're not. So it's not helping you guys. You guys are going to be more lost than you already are here, right? So given this reality, does a marriage model of interdependency where one spouse is highly dependent on the other and highly vulnerable in the event of marital breakdown make sense? I don't even want to respond to that. That doesn't even make sense to me. Should we not be planning our lives to prepare for / protect against the worst case scenario of marital breakdown? Why not focus on qualifying your partner better? Like I've been saying all along, see if that large rush of sexual attraction is there from the beginning. If that's there, focus on conversation. Do you get along with the conversation you share? Do you have mentally stimulating conversations? Do you emotionally bond? Do you feel an emotional connection? Do you feel a spiritual connection? If that's all there, when you finally have sex, is the sex good? If that's all there, then you're good. But if not, nothing else matters. And you guys are sitting here and trying to figure out this incredible formula of magic that's going to fix divorces and keep women around, right? There's no magic formula. It's either there or it isn't. The data suggests this can happen to even the happiest couples. The happiest couples are going to have issues, but they're more prone to work through them because there's actually a real connection there. The woman didn't just settle for the beta male provider, you, because she couldn't get the Chad to marry her. That's all you guys need to understand. And for you ladies out there, maybe don't waste your 20s chasing the Chads thinking they're going to want to marry you when all they want to do is use you for sex. Man, I mean, that's what's happening. That's exactly what's causing the divorce rate. You guys and gals are not properly qualifying each other. There's no spark. There's no large of attraction, overall attraction or sexual attraction from the very beginning. That's why. And if that's not there, it'll never be there. And if you continue moving forward, right, eventually she's going to leave you because she's not really with you for the right reasons in the first place. You're the provider, temporarily. From dealing with my own divorce, I'm going to read a couple comments. From dealing with my own divorce and reading other accounts, I find that a lot of people suddenly and shockingly discover their partner is unhappy. It's not all of a sudden. It was never there in the first place. My thoughts are that this unhappiness clashes with the person's identity as a caring person and spouse, to the point they don't fully express it. They might not even express it at all. Well, they never felt it in the first place. So why express something that's not there? These women are settling for the beta male provider. They want to have a couple kids before their biological clock expires. And they may be thinking, okay, I may end up actually liking this guy, but at least I'm going to have kids and have a provider for a while I figure that out. But the truth of the matter is, if the attraction wasn't there from the very beginning, It's never going to be there. And that's why, a lot of these women in this situation will just close off, right? They're not there for the right reason. And the guy is clueless because he's a beta male. He was never taught to be a man. And he's just thrilled that some hot woman decided to marry him and have kids with him. That doesn't really feel it for him. Most people are not introspective enough to realize what's going on and act out in bizarre ways such as an affair or maybe alcohol abuse or depression rather than examine what in their life is truly unsatisfied and try to do something about it. All right. Where was I at? I'm sorry. So the immediate event is an affair or other abrupt event, but the root cause is someone trying to sidestep their dissatisfaction with life. I've heard of stories on the internet, and I got to find some to share it with you guys down the road, where, these women will get married to the beta male provider, and then they go off and have affairs behind their husband's back while they're at work, and they end up getting pregnant by these other guys, these chads and stuff, right? So they go out, cheat on their husband, they have unprotected sex with no birth control, and get knocked up by these other guys. And then the guys are led to believe that they got their wife pregnant, and then they're raising someone else's kids. Why? Because they never wanted to be with the beta in the first place. Because the guys that they want to have kids with don't want to have kids with them or even be with them beyond a sexual experience. This is what you folks are missing here. Now, not all women and men are like that, but the majority are nowadays. If you want something real, you've got to really take the time to get to know someone and see if the connection is there from the beginning. And see if it continues to be there for at least a year or two before you tie the knot. And it has to be there mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically and sexually consistently throughout that time for a year or two before you get married. It has to be consistently consistent. So the immediate event is an affair or other abrupt event, but the root cause is someone trying to sidestep their dissatisfaction with life. Ultimately, I think most people aren't ready to shed their ego and really examine why they're dissatisfied. Again, they never chose the right person in the first place. How many times I have to say it? I hope you guys and gals get it by now. It is easier to just blame your spouse, so people do that instead and do shitty things to each other and get divorced. They were never meant to be together in the first place. Of course, some couples clearly communicate their problems and still get divorced because they were never meant to be together in the first place. And some relationships are truly intolerable or abusive because they were never meant to be together in the first place. I'm going to sound like a broken record. I am just looking at one common pattern. Okay. Got to wrap this up in about 7 minutes or so. A lot of men oftentimes have no idea really why they got a divorce. Because it was never meant to be in the first place. You're the beta male provider. She settled for you. How many stories do you have to hear about this on the internet? I've heard so many, and I've got to start sharing more of these stories. I'm going to. Maybe you guys will get it by that point. This is where the whole walk-away wife syndrome comes from. Because she was never with you for the right reason. She settled for you because the Chads and Tyrones would not settle with them or with her. That's the bottom line. Because the woman will never talk about the issues they have. It's not about that. If there's any issue, it's the fact that these women, regardless of what they look like nowadays, because you thirsty beta males overly validate them, they feel they are worthy of getting the top 10% of guys, the 9s and the 10s, right? Maybe the top 20%, the 9s and the 10s, right? And the top 20% of the guys, because they're so wanted by so many women, they don't want to settle. They want to have fun. And these women try to lock them down. By the time they get in their 30s and they can't lock them down, and their biological clock is ticking, then they come and settle for you. And you're just enamored that a good-looking woman is giving you the time of day. Good-looking woman that says she wants to marry you and have kids with you. Right? She's not really with you because she wants to be with you. She's with you because she's settling so she can have a family before her biological clock expires. That's it. No, it's because they don't change anything when told. It is literally the wife exasperating herself, telling her husband the same thing for years because it was never there in the first place. She finally realizes her husband won't ever actually listen to her. Initiates divorce, cue shocked husband. That's because he's a beta mon provider, beta mon provider, beta mon provider. You get the point? Read a couple more before we wrap this up here. This does happen too. I'm just saying there's no guarantee you get actionable, usable communication from your spouse. If she cares about you and loves you from the very beginning and there's chemistry there from the very beginning, she'll communicate with you. If the communication is broken down, it means there's nothing there. It was never there. You're a beta mon provider is what you are. You're a sperm provider and you're a financial provider, which is simply ignored. They might clearly tell you a million times. They might not say anything, or they might poorly articulate what they are feeling because they feel nothing. You're the beta mon provider. She settled for the beta mon provider. Yep, proper communication takes skill and practice. People need to learn how to clearly articulate themselves and in turn actively listen to their partner. It truly takes work and patience. And when you marry someone out of desperation, listen to that, out of desperation, or only kind of like them before the wedding, of course, you're in a shit show. That's what I've been saying all along. You're the first one that's actually come close to understanding what I'm saying. I'm going to give you a big round of applause. That makes plenty of sense right there. Let's read that one more time. The last part. It truly takes work and patience. And when you married someone out of desperation, for women, their biological clock is ticking, so they're settling for somebody that is less appealing than they typically go for, right? Or only kind of like them, or if you only kind of like them. Yeah, she kind of likes his money. And the fact that he would probably make a really good dad, right? Yeah. Or because of the fact that none of the chads she's been chasing throughout her 20s, or even in her early 30s, and some women still chad chase in their 40s. It's ridiculous. These men didn't want to settle. They didn't. So some of these women finally decided, I'm going to settle, have a family. I'm just going to find a guy that's okay looking, that's an okay guy, and I'm going to make it work. And the truth of the matter is, there's no attraction at all. None. It's like an arranged marriage is what it is. And arranged marriages don't work because compatibility is not based on two people being arranged. It's based on it either being there or not being there when you first lay eyes on each other. That's it. That's the bottom line. Or only kind of like them before the wedding. Of course, you're in a shit show, right? Of course, a person can just refuse to take accountability. At that point, there's not really any going back. A lot of these guys out here on YouTube, I used to be a part of the MGTOW community, they went through a divorce, right? And they never owned up to anything because they themselves didn't even really know what happened. The truth of the matter is there was never any compatibility there between them and their wife. Their wife probably settled for them. Maybe they settled for their wife, right? When you settle for someone, right, especially if you're a woman, your biological clock is ticking, you settle for someone just so you can have kids before your biological clock expires, it's never going to work out in the end. You might get your kids, and, it might be okay for a little while, but it's going to be nothing special, nothing at all. Let me see. Sounds like a long-term relationship I was in 5+ years. My ex would tell me what bothered her, and I would work to change. I told her the things that bothered me, and they never changed. She promised they would change when we got engaged and married. Every time we would have a state of relationship talk, she would have a new list, and mine would be the exact same. I don't think this is necessarily as gendered as everyone thinks it is. I broke up with her because nothing ever changed. Well, good for you. I'm going to give you a big round of applause for that, brother. Breaking up with her was the right thing to do, because here's the thing. You shouldn't have to change who you are. She shouldn't have to change who she is. You two were just not compatible. And while you didn't say that, dude, you realized it to the point of where you broke up with her. All right. That's going to do it for this two-part video series here regarding the actual truth why the divorce rate is so high. All right, guys and gals, stay tuned for more pre-recorded videos coming in bite-sized form, which is what I'm trying to say. I used to do these, videos on a live stream, but I wanted to switch it up a bit and make it easier for you folks to consume this content. Let me know what you think. Please like, share, subscribe, bang the bell, select all notifications, and you won't miss anything. And until next time, have yourself a great day. We'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye. Bye.